What's up, mortgage coach community? I'm excited about this conversation because it's going to help me personally. This is something I've been working on for a while, just improving my breathing to optimize my energy, to be my best. And I do think it's a time in the marketplace where, it's stressful out there. If you're in mortgage, if you're in real estate, you may have a good attitude and fighting through it, but it's because you've had to be intentional about it. It's a lot easier to be stressed out and not be our best. So I've invited Marc Taylor to the stage. What's up, Marc?
Hey, how you doing, Dave? Thanks for inviting me.
It's good to have you. So a little backstory for everybody. We recently did a breathing webinar for our company, Mortgage Coach and Sales Boomerang. It was just something to, help the team with being their best. We do a lot of different things to help our employees and our teammates crush it. And I was getting a lot of value from it. And so I was like, Marc, would you do this for the mortgage coach community? And, know that everybody's a loan officer and they help realtors and they're dealing with the stress of real estate. And Marc said, of course, that sounds awesome. I would love to spread the word of breath work and how that can be used to help people be better people. But he gave me a bunch of ideas like, hey, we could talk about this, we could talk about that. And Marc, what was the first subject that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, well, you kind of already leading into it. It's about stress. People want to do their best. They want to drive themselves to higher productivity. And we're looking for tools all the time to do that. And of course, we're always surrounded by things like caffeine, coffee, sugar, things to give us that energy boost in the middle of the day or the middle of the afternoon when we're just low, we're feeling low and we don't have like a lot of resources, but that has, a downside too. Getting a lot of caffeine in your system, a lot of sugar has a lot of effects on your system. And there's usually the crash that comes afterwards. So it's kind of a roller coaster you can end up chasing. But there are other natural ways to really hack into your system to give you that energy boost and to help you, get higher levels of energy throughout the day without relying on those other things and without the negative side effects too. And breathing is a great way to do that. And there's some really simple exercises you can do with your breath anytime, anywhere, and really without anybody even noticing to really release like that untapped potential that you have. And I can show you some examples if you like.
Yeah, I definitely want to do that. Before we jump into that, I do want to say, guys, the importance of breathing got on my radar. I don't know if it was a year ago. It seems like it was a year ago. And there was an interview with, what's the guy who wrote the book, Breathe? What was his name again?
Oh, yeah. Breathe, Nestor, James Nestor, the New Science of a Lost Art. It's a great book.
Yeah. So, one, listen to that podcast. I'm going to put a link down below. It was like, what? I just opened up my mind. I got the book. I haven't, in all disclosure, I did buy the book and the audiobook, and I've listened to about half of it. But it was kind of the beginning of the journey for me. So do check that out. And then, why don't you get into it? Why don't you share tactics and strategies?
Well, I'll tail off the James Nestor comment. One of his big revelations in the book was how bad it is for your system to breathe through your nose habitually. like unconsciously as a normal way of breathing throughout your day. And he did scientific experiments with some of the best scientists in the world on this topic and discovered and measured how bad it is to breathe through your nose, which brings attention to breathing in general. Like no one really pays attention to breathing. We have multi-billion-dollar industries around studying the heart, studying the cardiovascular system, the brain, but there's really not a lot around breathing, which is really integral to the whole system. And the way you breathe affects your whole system. One of the things that people are learning is that most of us breathe in a dysfunctional pattern habitually. Meaning, what is a functional breathing pattern? It's the one that gives you the most amount of oxygen with the least amount of effort. And we want to have the oxygen into your body so it can get to your cells, it can get to your brain, it can keep you going throughout the day. And most of us are in a kind of a stressed out fight or flight kind of state. If we're dealing with challenges at work, trying to meet deadlines, dealing with competing requests on our attention, and we get into that panic state or that chest breathing state, which really has an effect on our hormones. It has an effect on our nervous system, on the way we think, and our energy levels. And when we're breathing in that unconscious kind of stressed out way all day, it really has an effect on us. So people are learning they can breathe a little differently not in that chest pattern, and actually get more oxygen to the lungs, more oxygen into the blood, and really give the body a lot more resources so it doesn't have to work so hard to think or just to stay, in that energized state.
Sorry, I was
Oh, I
on
lost
mute.
your audio.
Yeah, I was on mute. Human error on my part. One last thing I'll say before Mark gets into a specific lesson for us is there's pretty much, in my opinion, from reading the book that I had, going through a session with Mark, there is no way that you're optimizing what you can do if you don't lean into this. Like if you don't listen to what he says and do it, trust me, it's not like, oh, you're killing it with breathing. No, you're alive. Like we're alive because we're breathing, but that's about it. In terms of using breath for energy, it's not happening unless you learn how to do it. In terms of learning, using breath to optimize our emotional IQ so that we're not, just ready to jump, especially if we're in the mortgage business and all the problems we're dealing with. Like what he's going to share right now, like, unless you've read that book, unless you've really intentionally worked on it, this is going to be enlightening. This is going to be important. So bring some ideas to us.
All right. Yeah. I mean, the ideas are really important to know them, but I think you're really getting to the point, which is having the experience of doing it and then realizing how much of a powerful impact it has on you. That's going to really convince you to want to dedicate some time and attention to this. So I'll just teach a real simple breath. It's called a diaphragmatic breath. If you've done certain types of yoga, you're familiar with this. It's a yogic breath. We have three breathing spaces in our body. The first is the lower space, which is pretty much from like the belly button down. And then we have a breathing space in our chest where our rib cage begins up to about our nipples. And then we have a third breathing space above the top up here. And these two top spaces are where we get that stressed out breathing. It's like, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that's kind of where we breathe in our space. And when you're really relaxed, when everything's going great and you don't have any stress and you're just kind of in a nice calm state, you don't breathe that way. Your stomach relaxes, your breathing goes down into your belly kind of moves out, it kind of massages your organs. And then after your stomach fills up, then your chest will start to fill up a little bit. So it's very much from the bottom up to the top type of breathing. And if you can breathe that way as a habit, even for a few minutes a day to start developing that habit, you'll start to shift the way you breathe unconsciously. So I'll demonstrate real quick. So I'm going to breathe in the first part of my breath, the first air that comes into my mouth, I'm going to imagine it sending it way down to the very bottom of my abdomen and filling myself from the bottom up, kind of like if you're pouring water into a balloon. If you ever did a water balloon fight, you water into the balloon from the hose. It always fills up from the bottom first, and then it starts to fill up the rest of the balloon after the bottom is filled. And that's the way your air should fill your body when you breathe in. So I'm going to breathe in and fill myself up from the bottom. And then when the bottom's full, my chest will start to expand naturally a little bit, and I'll just relax and let it go. So it's one more time. So that's pretty much what it looks like. Now, you can't think all day long about your breathing. We have to think about the things we're working on. And it's okay, because all you really need to do is focus on this breathing pattern for. Am I still with you, Dave? Dave, I don't know if I'm still with you or not. I can't see you anymore.
Yeah, no, I'm here. I had a little.
There you are. Okay, you're back.
Keep on going. It was on my end and it's recording because
okay.
you're in.
I'm in the Zoom cloud. All right. So yeah, so you can practice that just a few minutes a day, and you'll start to develop that conscious and have that pattern unconsciously. So like in the morning, I like to think about 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night, and then throughout the day, just take a minute every once in a while just to stop and breathe in this way. And as your body gets used to it, you'll start to breathe that way automatically. So think about just spending 5 minutes, closing your eyes, just paying attention to how you're breathing, relaxing your body where you're feeling it, want to hold on to that stress, and then you'll have that pattern after probably 30 days. It'll start to become really unconscious.
So I want to make sure, and I think you delivered a lesson that one will create some awareness around this, but for a loan officer that's busy, they're working out of their home or they're, we're out meeting with people now, but what are some other, just give us one more idea. And I want to do it from a optimized energy perspective. I want to like in today's market, we need to be prospecting more. We need them to be doing total cost analysis more. We need them to feel their best so that when they get one of those sales boomerang alerts, they're actually going to call that prospect instead of like, oh, I'm not going to call this one, or I'll do it tomorrow. So give us like an exercise that we could do from a breathing perspective that would just be, hey, when you're procrastinating important things that you should be doing, why don't you do blank for 5 minutes? What comes to mind?
Well, what comes to mind is alpha brain waves, actually. We have different brainwave states that we're in throughout our day when we're sleeping at night and throughout our day. And beta waves are usually where we're at, where we're task focused, working on our jobs. But we can get into an alpha brainwave state, which is where we are alert, but we're relaxed. We're kind of just aware of what's happening in the present moment. And that's where we can really feel any sort of depression lifting. We can feel any doubts lifting, any negativity lifting. You get into this really great state of mind where we can then really jump in and tackle the things that are in front of us from that perspective. And that's accomplished using what's called a conscious connected breath. And it's very, very simply, it's a breath without any pauses. You're going to inhale, and then you're going to exhale. And as soon as you're done with the exhale, you're going to inhale again. There's no pause between either inhale or exhale. And if you breathe in a pattern where your exhale is twice as long as your inhale, you're going to reach that alpha brainwave state in about 5 minutes. So you can just take 5 minutes to set aside like a 4-second inhale, an 8-second exhale.
And it doesn't matter whether it's out of your nose or out of your mouth, like nose, you should nose breathe right now, right?
You should nose breathe. That's a good question. Ultimately, you can do it in either way, but you will get there faster by breathing through your nose.
Got it.
So after 5 minutes, that'll trigger alpha brain states. And if you take that past the 5-minute mark to 15 or 20 minutes, if you have that time, you'll actually get into theta brainwave states, which will allow you to really tap into your creativity and intuition and kind of get those aha enlightened realizations that are so helpful.
So real quick, because I when I went to an event called Amplify by Rene Rodriguez, and by the way, he's got a great book, everybody, Amplify. He talked about box breathing, and it talked about it in the context of you're getting ready to go on stage or going to a presentation, and to get out of that, really, stressful state, he recommended box breathing. And it sounds like what you just recommended is almost, I wouldn't call it the opposite, but it's 4-second, 8-second. It's like more like a lopsided triangle, but it's the opposite. What's different? I mean, obviously the breathing cycle, it's not 4 seconds, 4 seconds, 4 seconds, but what's different mentally that's happening right now between box breathing?
Box breathing is really great. They actually use that technique for military special operations teams. There's a great breathwork guru out there, Mark Divine. He has Unbeatable Mind. It's his program, and he teaches other Navy SEALs and first responders how to use box breathing as they're going into like a high intense, dangerous situation, either in combat or an emergency situation. And what that box breathing does is allows them to relax and get into the present moment, to have like present moment awareness instead of worrying about what's next or what happened, but really to be present to what's happening. So you have a greater field of awareness and also connected to the people that you're working with. So it's that box formation that allows you to have that alertness combined with that, bringing your attention here into the present moment relaxation.
Got it. So this has been awesome. I know we've got a hard stop coming up here. Guys, if you have any questions, you want me to do more content around this, to me, this is like, so far we're less than 20 minutes and we got 2 little tips and strategies that are going to help us have more energy, do the things we know we should be doing, and also just be healthier. Anything else you want to cover before we wrap it up? And remember, guys, put questions down below. If you're watching this on YouTube, which that's probably where most of you are watching it, if you have more questions and you want more of this, let me know. But Mark, any last ideas?
Yeah, I would say probably the biggest tip I could offer anybody is just to get in the habit of paying attention to how you breathe, even if you don't change it at all. That awareness into your present moment experience of your breathing is also a doorway into your present moment thought process, the way you're feeling in your body, your really life below the neck, and and to have a greater awareness in all spheres of your consciousness in your life, rather than just breathing in the physical.
Cool. And then if anyone is tuning into this, and because I know you do this as a profession, helping people out, it's part of what you do. How would they get a hold of you? Is there a place to follow you? Any way that someone that wants to go deeper, have you speak or do something, how would they get a hold of you?
Best way is to reach me at my email address. You can put it in the notes below. It's mark@synergybreathwork.com, MARC@synergybreathwork.com. Thanks.
Cool. Well, reach out to this guy. He's helping the Mortgage Coach and Sales Boomerang team. Mark, thank you for pouring into us, and hopefully more people in our community reach out to you, and hopefully a few people like, okay, I'm going to give this a whirl. Give it a whirl, and remember that interview with Joe Rogan and Nestor was gold. Highly recommend it for everyone.
Thanks a lot, Dave. Thanks so much for the time.
Yeah, take care, brother.